top series, where they cover the same concepts in terms of master position. We gave the kids a master position on the feet with control of the thigh, a master position from the bottom on B, wide, comfortable center of gravity, and then on top we have a master position. And the master position on top is sort of malleable. You can kind of make it what you want. I found that giving the kids a ride to be master position is the best way to keep them from getting flustered out there. So I was taught for the most control on top for the master position would be a cross wrist. Having a cross wrist ride allows me to switch from cross wrist to near wrist to 2-on-1 to claw to sort of everything I want while keeping him flat. And so if Amir's down, and from last week, your job is to get your weight off of what? Yeah. So he hits his hip back at him. He's here. That's his head up, back straight, hips under him. That's where he wants to be. Me, if I'm the coach, I'm happy if he's doing this. So my guy has to make sure that this doesn't happen. So in order for me to keep him from sitting back into me, I have to jam. So from top to bantams to, it doesn't really matter. A jam can be done by any age because it's really not a technique other than taking both of my arms underneath his arms, and I'm just going to knock them forward a little bit so that his weight has to land on his hand. So when you get set off the whistle, I'm not going arm chop, I'm not going right to a breakdown, because this guy's going to have an idea too. He's got a first move he wants to hit, and if his first move's quicker and better than my first move, he wins that battle. So in order to eliminate that, I'm going to come under both arms and jam him forward. So now, no matter what his first move was, he has to abort and put his hands forward, or he's going to fall on his face. So once this happens and all his weight here, now I can sink that tight waist and do my arm chop. Now I can drop to my party forehead, go right down. Because I elongated him and I put the weight on his hand. If Amir's in a good stance, in a good bottom position stance, and I just go for an arm chop, and he doesn't want to go, and he can have a good wide base here, I'm not going to be able to just run him over off the whistle. But if I jam him forward and then run him over, now it works because I put the weight on the hand. So coaches would always tell us as kids, it's like a table. If you take the leg away, it falls over. Yeah, but only if there's weight over that leg. If there's no weight over the leg, I don't fall. So that weight has to go forward to remove the leg. So for the little kids, that's how I would explain it, if it makes sense, on a easy to understand level. As you get older, I'd say maybe like 11 or 12-year-olds, you can start getting them to switch sides on their start. And this is big because most kids aren't comfortable having the guy line up on the opposite side. It just throws everything out of whack. They forget half the technique, they try and do it, doesn't go right. For me on top, it's easy for me to jam on either side because I'm not really doing a move. This is really the same thing no matter what side I line up on. A jam is a jam. But if I line up on this side, now I threw him off a little bit in his head. Now when I hit my jam, I carry him forward, and now I can go right back to whatever I'm comfortable. So now, when you're 11, 12, and you start doing those things, you start getting used to getting on the other side. Now you're getting advantages over kids on these little split seconds in the breakdowns. So all age groups have to jam. As they get older, we want to try and switch sides. Again, just for the psychological aspect alone, plus all the other benefits. So the jam is first. Second, obviously we cover the hips. What I see a lot is most kids cover the hips for a couple seconds, and then the focus goes away, and the wrestling match ensues, and they sort of get sloppy with it, and it looks sort of like this. They may do the jam, and then they get this here, and then they cover that hips for a second, but then they're out here like this. Just like this. So we're out here like this. I ain't not on his hips at all. Yeah, I have a wrist, but there's nothing to keep him from rebuilding his base. I have no pressure, so he rebuilds his base. Now I don't have anything, now I got to recover, and now I'm back to square one. So covering the hips, and you just say it, you would hope that they do, but they don't. So I teach them to put the inside of your thighs on each hip. So after I jam here, this guy's here, this guy's here. I'm pinching his hips on that jam. So now I know I'm connected. So even if he starts to move, go ahead, sit out, whatever you want to do. I'm with him, I'm with him, I'm with him, I'm with him. Because I'm feeling it between my legs. Whereas when I'm out here and he starts moving, it's too late by the time I catch up. So the jam should help bring those knees here. Pinch, pinch. On that jam. And again, whatever breakdown we want to teach, that thing works for you. Arm chop, you can switch to head waist ankle, far ankle, spiral ride, claw. All of those vital. Once he's jammed. So jam, pinch with your knees. When we're here, the number one easiest ride, especially when you're young at the tight waist, pretty much holds true as you get older, although slightly less effective. But when you're young, if you sink that deep tight waist, that's it. He's not going nowhere. He's going to run out of air. He's going to give you that arm already. He's buckling. So Tots can do tight waist all the way through up. It's not like it's a real complicated move. But understanding on our tight waist, it's not just here and then pull. When I do my tight waist, I dip the shoulder deep. I dip it deep because I want this to wrap as far as I can. And then I'm not pulling it as much as I'm shifting my weight to the other side. Can't speak. Yeah, I thought it. So, if I don't do that and I just pull, and I just try to keep it tight, your head say something. Yeah, he's okay. But if I come up and sink it deep and bring my weight to the other side, now he can't breathe. Now my leg's easy, I'm still pinching, I can get my wrist, and I'm over. So the tight waist, the younger they get it, the more effective they'll get it quicker. So jam, pinch tight, get the tight waist. And there, everything else is everything. Here, dip on the tight waist. Make sure we're getting on the soft part of the belly and the back here. Here's his ribs. I'm not able to pull that as tight on his ribs to protect his lungs. If I can get just below the ribs where the floating ribs are, pull that through, that's where all the air comes out. So those little things there.
You're going to for his wrist.
That's going to be the next thing.
Okay.
So once I come on my jam and I get them where I want them, my knees are pinching, sink my tight waist deep, pull to the other side. Now I'm comfortable. I know that he can't move without me being close. Now I can take this arm chop, this knee up the butt, just like we all learned, and drive him over and catch that wrist on the knee. And in wrestling, on top, this is all that matters. If I don't have a wrist on top, I don't have anything. I'm just holding on. So once I get this wrist off that breakdown, that is the crux of everything you're doing off the whistle, is to get to this point. So come back up one more time. So I jam, waist down, dip, pull that tight waist through. Now I can chop, but if he's a stud and he's studding that arm out, he's not going to let me chop it over. The trick you can learn here is you take a C grip, you come over the elbow, not behind it, over the elbow, and then I just bend his elbow towards me like this. You can't stop it because it's just physics of the body. But if I try and break through his locked arm, he can fight that. But when I come here and go like this, he can't. And once I put that elbow down, now I can run him over, catch the wrist, and we're going to end up flat out, flat. This is master position here. I have the cross wrist. I'm across the body. I have his leg straddled, which means I have his hip straddled. And now I'm on my knees right now to explain, but if I was wrestling, it would be here. So my shoulder's in his lower back. I'm on my toes driving in. And as I'm doing that the entire time, I'm pulling this wrist where to the hip. That's right. I'm pulling it down. If I pull it up, he can get his elbow in there. Other way. Yeah, you can do that too. One way or the other, he's going to break it off. If I come here and let this come up, he can take this and just drive that off. But if I pull it down to this hip, you get your hand in there. You can't. You can't. You're going to put yourself on your back. So the wrist has to come to the hip. I have to keep the pressure down. If I don't cover the hips and I just do this, he's going to build his base. So I can't stop. So When they're younger, it's harder to get them to be consistent on that spot. They may do it for a couple seconds, it's okay. We'll get it as they get older. Just getting here to this wrist. This is master position here on top. Boy, I went back right there. This is master position here because now no matter what Amir does, I have a counter and an out. So from here, when we start putting the technique videos, you got Turks and cradles and halves and tilts and all kinds of stuff. But what it really does, just like I was explaining on your feet, it tricks the kid into being in good position all the time. Yes, you're allowed to do all the other moves. But every match you want to try and get to master position first, and then get to what you want to get to. And the more they do that, the easier it starts to become for them to piece things together. And they build their repertoire that they learn. So getting that guy flat is paramount. What I see from them in high school, more often than not, and I can't stand it, just one of the pet peeves of mine is guys trying to pinning from the knees. I hate it. I hate it because sometimes it works for them, and that's the worst. It's a reinforcement that they'll do it again. But 9 times out of 10, it's ended up being a sloppy thing. Like they'll have a half here on the knees, and they're just hanging here with it, and instead of running it like they should, they're sort of trying to like strong arm it, and then this kid hits one hard whip down, and they end up here, and this kid kicks over, and all kinds of stupid shit come back. Or they're here, and they're just holding on, and they're pulling the guy on top of them, but they don't know what they're doing. If you let kids to their own volition, they'll come up with some really bad ideas. So getting them on that master position without worrying about pinning. Top is not about pinning. That's why these rule changes in NCAA are really making me mad, because top is about riding. The pinning comes after the riding. If you can ride somebody, the pins will come. You catch guys in pins. You don't pin good guys with a half, you know what I mean? So catching somebody in a pin is always great. Looking for the pin on top should always be there in your mind, but it's not priority. Priority is keeping them flat. So our guys, me and coach will have them do breakdowns. And so let's say I'm here with a breakdown here, and I get him flat. His job is to break the wrist free, get back to his base, and then he's here, and he's doing what he should be, trying to steal. Me on top, I'm trying to keep him from doing this. I'm going to try to break him down. Where's he going? And you just allow no moves, no wrestling, just breakdown space still, breakdown space still. Bottom guy figures out how to not get thrown around like a fish. Top guy figures out how to keep the fish down once you got him flat. That is more important and will help them than running a half, running a bar. Because those things will get them in trouble if they don't have them flat. So, again, without getting into technique, fundamentally, the jam, the tight waist, the breakdown, to get a wrist. Once you get the wrist, now you can do all the moves we all know. Because he's flat and his fucking wrist is caught. So whatever your bread and butter is from there works. Because you're in good position. So some kids are tilt kids, some kids are halves, some kids are long with cradle kids. They're all good moves. And that's why you'll see them frequently all throughout, but some are tighter than others, some are a little sloppier. That's mostly because of positioning. So, at the end of the day, just like on our feet and on bottom, positioning is king. Positioning is more important than technique. And so, here's on top. Then hit the good jam. Good tight. Flat, hop sides. Off your knees. Good. Now I'm in a position here where I can't look into him. If I look into him, I'm giving him the half, it's not hitting me. And I really can't turn away because he has so much pressure coming in that I can't get this shoulder off the mat to get out of the way. So at this point, you could ride him for 2 straight minutes and the ref can't call stalling because you're off to the side. You can't get up. You basically are stalling, but he can't call it. You don't need this. He can't call it. So he's here, and all Amir has to do is act like he's looking for a turn, or he's looking for a turn, even if you don't get it. Ref's happy, and that kid ain't getting up, and our kid's doing all the right things, and eventually that kid's going to do something stupid, especially when you're young like this, and then he's going to hit. So that comes from just having good, solid positioning, without even getting into setting up a technique or a move. If